The sky above New York City turned purple on a warm June morning in 2157. People stopped in the streets and looked up. Car crashes happened as drivers forgot to watch the road. News stations cut their programs to show the massive ship that hung in the air like a metal cloud. This was First Contact. The ship belonged to the Galactic Assembly, a group of 17 alien species who had been traveling among the stars for thousands of years. They came with amazing technology and shocking news. Earth was not just another planet. It sat at a crossroads of ancient space paths that made it very valuable. Captain Lisa Grant stood at attention as the aliens walked down the ramp from their ship. At 35, she had never expected to be humanity's first greeter to aliens. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her blue uniform was perfectly pressed. The United Earth Defense Force had picked her because she was calm under pressure. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The alien in front moved forward. High Counselor Zixtar of the Vexillian Empire stood 7 feet tall. His skin glowed with soft blue light and forearms extended from his slender body. When he spoke, his mouth didn't move. Instead, the words seemed to appear directly in Lisa's mind. "We have watched your world for some time," Zixtar said. "Your species has potential despite your limitations." Over the next week, Lisa attended every meeting between human leaders and the Assembly aliens. She noticed something strange. Whenever humans asked about dangers in space or wanted to discuss safety measures, the aliens would look at each other in a way that seemed like they were sharing a private joke. During the third such meeting, Lisa couldn't stay quiet anymore. "Is there something funny about our questions?" she asked. Ambassador Krellinex of the Centauri Federation turned all 8 of his eyes toward her. The Centauri looked like a cross between a human and a spider, with pale green skin and too many limbs. "Your species has an unusual focus on danger," Krellinex said. "Is this fear common in all humans?" Lisa felt her face grow hot. "It's not fear. It's being smart." But the aliens didn't seem convinced. As weeks passed and Earth learned more about space politics, the aliens' view of humans got worse. Other species began calling humans the cautious species behind their backs. Some were less kind and simply called them the cowards of Sector 8. The problem was simple. What humans saw as normal safety measures, the aliens saw as extreme fear. When assembly ships jumped through space without checking what was on the other side, humans wanted to send probes first. When aliens suggested immediate trade of all technologies, humans wanted to study them carefully before using them. When the Assembly invited Earth to join their wars against distant enemies, humans asked for time to consider all options. Jack Sullivan felt the weight of these differences every day. At 42, with graying hair and tired eyes, he hadn't expected to become Earth's first representative to the Galactic Assembly. He had been a diplomat for 20 years, but nothing had prepared him for alien politics. "You must understand," Jack explained during a heated meeting in the giant assembly hall on Mars. "The aliens had helped humans build this dome within days of arriving. We're not afraid. We're careful. There's a difference." High Counselor Zixtar's skin flashed bright blue, the Vexillian way of showing amusement. His forearms moved in patterns that seemed to mock Jack's words. "Your species will learn," Zixtar said. His mental voice felt cold in Jack's mind. "The universe rewards the brave Representative Sullivan, not those who hide behind shields before the battle even begins." The other aliens in the room, beings with tentacles, wings, multiple heads, or bodies made of what looked like living crystal, all showed their agreement in their own ways. Jack didn't back down. "Our caution has kept us alive through our entire history. We plan for problems before they happen." "A waste of energy," said a floating cloud of gas that was actually the ambassador from the Mist Collective. "Why worry about disasters that may never come?" Lisa Grant, now serving as Jack's advisor, whispered to him. "They've never had an extinction-level event. That's why they don't understand." Jack nodded. Humans had nearly wiped themselves out multiple times, with nuclear weapons, climate change, bioengineered viruses. Each time, careful planning had saved them. The aliens, it seemed, had been luckier in their histories. After 3 months of talks, the Galactic Assembly finally offered Earth a place in their group, but only as a probationary member. This was a polite way of saying humans were on trial. They would have to prove themselves worthy. At the ceremony marking Earth's new status, Zixtar presented Jack with a small metal sphere that glowed with inner light. This communicator connects you to the assembly network, Zixtar explained. Use it when your species is ready to embrace the true spirit of exploration. The way he said it made clear what he really meant. When humans stop being so cautious. As Jack accepted the gift, he caught Lisa's eye across the room. They shared a look that said what neither could say out loud. The aliens had no idea what humans were truly capable of. What looked like fear to the aliens was actually humanity's greatest strength, the ability to see danger coming and prepare for it. Thank you, Jack said simply. We look forward to showing the assembly what humanity can do. What he didn't say was that humans were already planning for every possible way this relationship could go wrong, including ways the overconfident aliens couldn't even imagine. 3 years passed after the aliens came to Earth. Humans had built space stations with alien help, and Earth ships now traveled to nearby stars. But the aliens still treated humans like scared children. Dr. Alan Reeves didn't care what the aliens thought. At 51, with wild gray hair and thick glasses, he spent his days staring at screens in Earth's new long-range space observatory. While other scientists tried to copy alien technology, Alan watched the stars and the empty spaces between them. On a cold Tuesday morning, he saw something strange. "Computer, run the scan again," he said, rubbing his tired eyes. The computer beeped. "Scan complete. Anomaly confirmed in the Cygnus Void region." The Cygnus Void was a huge empty area of space that the aliens called the Dead Zone. Nothing lived there. No stars formed there. Ships avoided it. Alan studied the readings. Energy patterns twisted and pulsed in ways that shouldn't be possible in empty space. According to Earth science, these patterns looked like the fabric of space and time was being stretched thin, like a balloon about to pop. "I need to report this," he muttered. 2 weeks later, Alan stood before the Galactic Science Council on their space station near Jupiter. 50 alien scientists from different species looked down at him from tall seats arranged in a circle. Most seemed bored. "These energy readings suggest the anomaly could tear open space itself," Alan explained, pointing to his data. "We should investigate immediately." Science Minister Thoclad of the Moravian Collective made a sound like rocks being crushed. The Moravians looked like walking tree trunks, with eyes embedded in their bark. "The void has shown such energy patterns for 12,000 cycles," Thoclad said. "It is natural, nothing more. Your human instruments are simply misunderstanding, normal quantum foam behavior." Several aliens made their species versions of laughter. Alan felt his face grow hot. "With respect, Minister, these patterns are growing stronger. They've increased by 43% just in the 2 weeks I've been watching them." "Observation equipment errors," said another alien scientist, waving a tentacle dismissively. "The Assembly has monitored the Cygnus Void for millennia. There is no danger." After the meeting, a small blue alien with 6 eyes approached Alan. "They won't listen because you're human," she whispered. "But I've seen similar readings. Be careful how you proceed." Before Alan could ask her name, she hurried away. Back on Earth, Alan didn't give up. He gathered more data, showing clearly that the anomaly was growing. When the Assembly continued to ignore his reports, he took his findings directly to Earth's government. President Maria Cooper was a practical woman who had grown up on a farm in Iowa. She had been elected because people trusted her common sense. She listened carefully as Alan explained the danger. "So the aliens won't investigate?" she asked when he finished. "No, Madam President. They think we're being paranoid." President Cooper looked at the data again. "What if they're right? What if this is harmless?" "Then we waste some time and resources," Alan said. "But if I'm right and we do nothing," she nodded. "I understand." She pressed a button on her desk. "Get me General Wade. We're going to need a ship." 1 month later, the research vessel UES Discovery left Earth orbit, carrying Alan and a crew of 30 scientists and military personnel. Captain Ben Harris, a former Navy SEAL with a square jaw and steady hands, commanded the mission. "We're not looking for trouble," Captain Harris told his crew as they prepared to jump to the edge of the Cygnus void. "We'll set up a monitoring station, collect data, and report back. No heroics." Meanwhile, Earth's new representative to the Galactic Assembly was having a rough day. Diane West, a former judge with short gray hair and a no-nonsense attitude, faced angry questions from the alien delegates. The eight-eyed Ambassador Krellin X of the Centauri Federation approached her after the meeting. "We have observed your people sending a ship toward the Cygnus void," he said, all his eyes blinking at once. "This makes you look bad during your trial period. Humans are again letting fear push them into unnecessary precautions." Diane stood, straight, looking the much taller alien in his main eyes. "We're just collecting data. If the anomaly is harmless like you say, our findings will prove that." "And waste valuable resources," Krellin X replied. "The Assembly has existed for 50,000 of your years. We have studied every important space thing in this part of the galaxy. Your worry is unnecessary and honestly annoying." Other aliens nearby nodded or made sounds of agreement. "Perhaps," Diane said calmly, "but we'll continue our research anyway." 2 weeks later, the UES Discovery reached the edge of the Cygnus void. Through the ship's windows, the crew could see a vast emptiness where no stars shone. Equipment readings went wild as soon as they arrived. "These energy levels are twice what we saw from Earth," Alan said, checking the sensors. "The anomaly is definitely growing faster than I predicted." Captain Harris frowned at the readings. "Set up the monitoring station. I want constant data being sent back to Earth." That night, as the rest of the crew slept, Alan noticed something in the data that made his blood run cold. The energy patterns weren't random. They repeated in complex sequences, almost like code. He rushed to wake the captain. "Sir, you need to see this," Alan said, showing him the pattern. "These energy fluctuations appear deliberate, like signals." Captain Harris studied the screen for a long moment. "You're saying something intelligent is causing this anomaly?" "Yes. And whatever it is, it's getting stronger." The captain nodded grimly and sat down at the communication console. He recorded a message for Earth Command. "The anomaly is definitely expanding, and there's something else. Something the Assembly reports never mentioned. There are patterns in the energy fluctuations that appear almost deliberate. We may not be dealing with a natural phenomenon at all, but something much more dangerous." For 6 months, the UES Discovery watched the strange energy patterns in the Cygnus void. Dr. Alan Reeves sent regular reports to Earth, but the Galactic Assembly still ignored the warnings. They treated the human concerns like a child afraid of shadows. Captain Ben Harris didn't care what the aliens thought. He trusted what his eyes saw, and the void was changing. The darkness seemed deeper, and sometimes the ship's equipment went crazy for no reason. "It's like something is testing our defenses," Lieutenant Kelly Wright said one morning as she checked the security systems. She was the youngest officer on board, just 26, with short blonde hair and quick eyes. "Keep everything at full power," Captain Harris told her. "I don't want any surprises." Dr. Reeves spent most days in the science lab, watching the energy patterns. They definitely formed a kind of language, but he couldn't understand it. It was like hearing someone talk underwater. You knew they were speaking, but the words made no sense. On the morning of their 183rd day at the void's edge, everything changed. Alarms blared throughout the ship. The lights flickered. Equipment sparked. "What's happening?" Captain Harris demanded as he rushed onto the bridge. "The anomaly is expanding," a science officer shouted, "growing at impossible speeds." On the main screen, they watched in horror as the darkness of the void seemed to reach out like fingers of black ink spreading through water. The energy readings went off the charts. "Get us out of here," Captain Harris ordered. "Emergency jump now." As the UES Discovery escaped back toward Earth, something far worse was happening on the other side of the void. 3 star systems, all Moravian colony worlds with billions of living beings, vanished in a single moment. They weren't destroyed. They were erased, as if they had never existed at all. The Galactic Assembly called an emergency meeting. Every representative from all 17 species gathered in the Great Hall on Jupiter's space station. For once, no one laughed or made jokes. Fear filled the room. High Counselor Zixtar, his blue skin now pale and dim, addressed the crowded room. We face a crisis unlike any in our recorded history. The Cygnus void has become unstable in ways never seen before. 3 Moravian systems are gone. Completely gone. His 4 hands trembled slightly. Our best scientists have no explanation for this disaster. From her seat in the probationary section, Representative Diane West raised her hand. When Zixtar nodded to her, she spoke clearly and calmly. Earth has data that might help. Our research vessel has been monitoring the anomaly for months and has detected patterns suggesting intelligent control. Science Minister Thoklat, whose people had just lost billions of lives, made a harsh, grinding sound. Impossible. Space events do not have intelligence. The patterns suggest otherwise, Diane insisted. She pressed a button, sending the UES Discovery's findings to the main screen for all to see. Our analysis shows this isn't a natural event. The anomaly is being weaponized. The room erupted in shocked voices. Some aliens shouted that humans were lying. Others demanded more information. A few simply wailed in grief for the lost worlds. Senator Vrax of the Pleiadian Confederacy rose to his full height, 14 feet of scaled muscular body topped with 3 small heads. This is nonsense. No known species can control dimensional barriers like this. No known species, Diane emphasized. Captain Harris and Dr. Reeves believe we're seeing a new type of being, one that lives partly in another dimension and is now trying to build a permanent bridge into our reality. High Counselor Zixtar raised all 4 arms, and the room fell silent. Even if your theory is true, Representative West, what would you have us do? If some trans-dimensional entity is trying to invade our space, how can anyone fight such a thing? For the first time since humans joined the assembly, no one was mocking them. No one was calling them cowards. Instead, all eyes turned to Earth's representatives with something new: hope. Diane West stood straighter. We have a plan. Back on Earth, scientists had been working day and night since the first warning signs. Dr. Olivia Fuller led the team. At 43, she was Earth's top expert on quantum physics. She had spent the last 6 months building a defense system that most of the assembly scientists would have said was impossible. Now, as the crisis grew, Dr. Fuller presented her work to a joint meeting of Earth leaders and assembly representatives. We call it a quantum barrier, she explained, showing them a complex diagram. Basically, it's a firewall between dimensions that would stop further invasion. This is just theory, said Science Minister Thoklat, looking at the plans with all 7 of his bark-embedded eyes. It cannot be built. We've already built the key components, Dr. Fuller replied calmly. We've been preparing since we first detected the anomaly. The meeting room went completely silent. Then Ambassador Krellenax of the Centauri spoke. You built this technology before knowing if it would be needed? Yes, President Maria Cooper said simply. That's what humans do. We prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. For a moment, the aliens just stared. Then High Counselor Zixtar's skin glowed brighter than anyone had ever seen. Perhaps we have misjudged humans, he said slowly. Over the next 2 days, the situation got worse. The void expanded further, swallowing another system. Sensors across the galaxy detected more energy patterns, like the ones Dr. Reeves had first noticed, but stronger and faster. They're getting ready for a full invasion, Dr. Fuller warned the Assembly Council. Our models show they could breach into our dimension completely within 7 days. If that happens, we can't stop them. How soon can your barrier be ready? High Counselor Zixtar asked. 3 days with just our technology, Dr. Fuller said. But if the assembly helps, maybe 1 day. Zixtar looked around at the other aliens, then back at the humans. You have the full resources of the Galactic Assembly. Every ship, every scientist, every piece of technology. Tell us what you need. For the first time, humans were leading the assembly. The species they had called cowards were now their only hope. Captain Harris, who had returned to Earth with his crew, met with Dr. Fuller as she prepared to lead the defense mission. "Do you think this will work?" he asked quietly. Dr. Fuller smiled, grimly. "It has to. There's no plan B." "Yes, there is," Captain Harris said, surprising her. "There's always a plan B. President Cooper made sure of that." "What are you talking about?" "Operation Sunforge," he said. "But let's hope we don't need it." The plan had a simple name but was anything but simple to execute. Operation Firewall would create a barrier between dimensions, a wall to keep the invaders from coming through. Dr. Olivia Fuller explained it to the Galactic Assembly using words that even non-scientists could understand. "Think of our universe as a balloon," she said. "Something from outside is poking holes in our balloon. We need to make the balloon stronger where they're poking." "How?" asked High Counselor Zixtar, his blue skin glowing with interest. "By setting up special devices at key points around the void," Dr. Fuller replied. She pulled up a map showing 26 spots marked with red dots. When activated together, these devices will create a field that prevents dimensional crossing. "This is extremely experimental," protested Science Minister Thoklat. His bark-like skin seemed to crack with stress. "We cannot risk making things worse." Dr. Fuller looked directly at him. "With respect, Minister, doing nothing guarantees things will get worse. 3 star systems are already gone. Our computer models show 17 more will disappear within a month if we don't act now." President Maria Cooper stood up. Though she was shorter than most of the aliens, her presence filled the room. "The Assembly has 2 choices," she said. "Do nothing and watch as more worlds disappear, or try our plan. We don't have time for debates." For once, the aliens didn't argue. The plan was approved within an hour. What followed was the biggest joint operation in Assembly history. Earth provided the designs and key technology. The Vexilians contributed their knowledge of exotic matter. The Centauri offered their amazing computers. Even the normally secretive Draconis Collective joined in, providing their special engines to power the devices. Ships from all species rushed to build the quantum barrier before more systems were lost. But as they worked, the Void claimed 2 more inhabited worlds. "We're running out of time," Dr. Fuller told Captain Ryan Lewis, who commanded the UES Resolution and led the human ships in the operation. Captain Lewis nodded grimly. At 38, with a scar down one cheek from an old battle, he had seen many dangerous situations, but nothing like this. "We'll be ready," he promised. 26 ships, including vessels from 12 different alien species, took their positions around the expanding void. Each carried a resonance generator, a device that looked like a silver sphere surrounded by spinning rings. From the Operation Command Center, Captain Lewis checked in with each ship. "All vessels report status," he ordered. One by one, they confirmed they were ready. "Dimensional dampeners at full power," reported the Vexilian cruiser. "Position locked," came from the Centauri vessel. "Ready to activate," said the human ships. "Captain," Lewis took a deep breath. On screens around him, he could see the faces of alien captains and their crews. Just weeks ago, they had looked down on humans as cowards. Now they waited for his command. "All ships on my mark," he said. 3, 2, 1, activate. 26 silver spheres powered up at once. The spinning rings around each sphere moved faster until they became blurs. Then beams of purple-white energy shot out from each device, connecting to form a web of light around the void. For several seconds, nothing seemed to happen. The command center was silent except for the beeping of equipment. Dr. Fuller stared. At her readings, her face tense. Then the sensors showed the void's expansion slowing, stopping, and finally beginning to shrink back. Cheers erupted across all ships. Aliens celebrated in their own ways, some with songs, others with light displays, some with strange dances. Humans hugged each other and cried with relief. "It's working," Dr. Fuller announced. "The firewall is holding. The anomaly is being contained." 4, 3 days the barrier stayed strong. The Alliance started to relax. Some ships were sent home. Leaders began to discuss rebuilding the lost colonies. Then, on the 4th day, alarms blared across all monitoring stations. "The barrier is weakening at multiple points," a sensor operator shouted in the command center. On the main screen, they could see the web of energy flickering like a dying light bulb. In some places, it was already breaking. "What's happening?" Captain Lewis demanded. Dr. Fuller rushed to check the sensors. Her face paled. "They're attacking the barrier," she said. "The entities from the other side. They're hitting it with focused energy. They're adapting to our technology." "Can we strengthen it?" High Counselor Zixtar asked. He had come to the command center when the alarm started. "We're trying," Dr. Fuller said. Her fingers flew over the controls, adjusting settings, redirecting power. "But they're attacking faster than we can respond." For 12 hours, the humans and aliens fought to save the barrier. Ships moved to strengthen weak points. Engineers worked to boost power to the resonance generators, but the attacks kept coming, stronger and more focused. "They're adapting to the field frequency," Dr. Fuller warned over the emergency channel. "The firewall is failing." 3 generators overloaded and exploded, taking their ships with them. Gaps appeared in the energy web, and the void began to expand rapidly again. In the assembly emergency chamber, panic spread. Representatives from all species shouted questions and demands. Some prayed to their gods. Others simply sat in silence, waiting for the end. High Counselor Zixtar turned to Representative Diane West, who had just arrived from Earth. "Your solution has failed," he said, his voice heavy with despair. "We face extinction." To his surprise, West's face remained calm. She touched a small device on her wrist, a special communicator linked directly to Earth's military command. "Implement Phase 2, she said clearly. Zixtar's eyes widened. "There is a Phase 2? West nodded. "Humans always have a backup plan." Captain Lewis received the message in the command center. He looked at Dr. Fuller, whose face showed she understood what was about to happen. "You knew about this?" he asked her quietly. She nodded. "It was always the last resort. We hoped the firewall would be enough." Captain Lewis turned to the communications. "Officer, send emergency signals to all remaining ships. Tell them to pull back to minimum safe distance immediately. Authorization code, Sunforge." Across the monitoring stations, humans exchanged knowing looks. They had trained for this moment while hoping it would never come. "What is happening?" demanded High Counselor Zixtar, watching the human ships suddenly breaking formation and moving away from the barrier. "The last option," Captain Lewis said simply. "Operation Sunforge is now active." As he spoke, 5 massive ships emerged from hyperspace at carefully calculated points around the failing barrier. Each vessel was 3 times larger than any other ship in the operation. They had been hidden in Earth's outer solar system, their construction kept secret from the assembly. "What are those ships carrying?" Zixtar asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Captain." Lewis met his gaze steadily. "Something that will either save us all or fail completely. There is no middle ground." On the main screen, they watched as the giant ships moved into position. Each carried the same message painted in large letters. On its hull, Operation Sunforge. Everyone in the command center stared at the 5 massive ships that had appeared. No one in the Galactic Assembly had known about these vessels except the humans. "What are they?" High Counselor Zixtar asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Captain," Nicole Perry's voice came over the communication system. She commanded the largest ship, the UES Horizon. "This is Operation Sunforge," she explained, "Earth's last resort plan." Each of the giant ships carried something that looked impossible, a controlled star core. The humans had built artificial stars that could be collapsed into tiny black holes at exact points around the void. Representative Diane West addressed the shocked assembly members watching from the emergency chamber. "The entities attacking us need a specific frequency to maintain their bridge between dimensions," she explained. "Our scientists discovered that a network of carefully placed black holes will create a disruption that permanently blocks their ability to enter our reality. This is insanity, Senator Vrax shouted, all three of his heads speaking at once. Creating black holes will destroy that entire sector of space. No, West corrected calmly. The singularities are calibrated to collapse upon themselves after disrupting the dimensional frequency. The area will be impossible to travel through for about 300 years, but all surrounding systems will be safe. As arguments broke out among the assembly representatives, Captain Perry prepared her crew for the final step. All Sunforge vessels report status, she ordered. One by one, the other 4 ships confirmed they were ready. Core containment fields, stable. Targeting systems locked. Collapse sequence programmed. Ready on your command. In the assembly chamber, the aliens watched in stunned silence. Some prayed to their gods. Others recorded messages for their families in case the human plan failed. Begin core collapse sequence, Captain Perry ordered. On each ship, engineers activated the complex machinery that would turn their artificial stars into weapons against the dimensional invaders. The process would take exactly 7 minutes. If this fails, what's our next option? High Counselor Zixtar asked Representative West. She met his eyes steadily. There isn't one. This is truly our last resort. For the first time, the alien leader seemed to truly understand humans. You prepared this final option before you even knew we would need it, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes, West replied. Simply. That's what humans do. On the main screen, they watched as the first artificial star began to collapse. The bright light twisted in on itself, becoming smaller and denser until it vanished completely, replaced by a tiny point of absolute darkness. A black hole had been born. One by one, the other ships created their singularities. As each black hole formed, it sent out a wave of energy that rippled through dimensions. The combined waves created a new kind of barrier, one that the invaders couldn't adapt to or break through. The entities from the other dimension, cut off from their home and facing a barrier they couldn't cross, began to retreat. The anomaly collapsed in on itself, trapped within the network of black holes exactly as the humans had calculated. 3 hours later, sensors confirmed the threat was contained. The attack had stopped. The plan had worked. In the assembly chamber, a deep silence fell. Then slowly, High Counselor Zixtar approached Earth's delegation. His blue skin glowed brighter than anyone had ever seen, the Vexillian expression of deep respect. Your species prepared for a worst-case scenario that none of us even imagined possible, he said. What we mistook for cowardice was, in fact, wisdom. 1 month later, Earth was granted full membership in the Galactic Assembly. No longer on trial, humans were now honored members. The Assembly also created a new rule called the Earth Directive, requiring all member species to maintain backup plans for major threats. At the ceremony marking these changes, Captain Perry delivered a short speech that summed up humanity's triumph. The barrier holds. The threat is contained. All because we dared to be cautious in a galaxy too proud to consider the unthinkable. As Representative West signed the new membership agreement, Ambassador Krellinex of the Centauri approached her. It seems we had much to learn from the cowards of Sector 8, the ambassador admitted. Perhaps fear properly used is not weakness but foresight. West smiled. Humans don't call it fear, she replied. We call it responsibility.